Thank you.
Just left a job after 9 years at the museum. And it was a hands-on, interactive museum.
Just recently?
Yeah.
So you were working weekends?
Yeah. No, actually, no weekends. But, you know.
This way. Hey guys, did you go to the lab?
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Was anybody there?
There was a little old man, but he didn't act like he wanted to talk. So he was
Alright. So you got to see some stuff?
Yes, very cool things.
And what kind of scientist are you?
I'm a soil scientist.
Okay, well, there's a little crossover because of how we get.
Geotechnical engineering?
No, I'm just a plain soil scientist.
That's excellent.
So do you know anything? Did you all see Augustine?
Yes.
So I work at the labs at Oak Ridge.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I do bioremediation of the soils that were contaminated when they were building the walls.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do bioremediation, you put bugs in there.
Yeah.
Have them
Well,
take the contamination.
I got another job.
Go. You want in front of the back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just green, so it looks natural.
Well, that's right up there. Wherever you want to go. We can stand in front of that sign. No, she said she doesn't like the for some reason. Phil doesn't want to stop. Sorry, I'm not here. Bye. Okay.
Take care.
Oh, fun! This is fun. And it's in the shade, Brian.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, let's just do the stairs. Fine.
And ultimately is processed in the United States as 5 iron. And so it's not any thicker than that. It's a quarter-inch thick, and so it's very iron. That's going to be for us. What you see here
Good job.
Uh-huh.
And then this William Barton was stationed at Fort Moultrie too.
Oh.
secretary.
They're not calling the language choice, are they?
Did you look in this hole where the ships were? In the wall?
Yeah, those were sisters was for water.
Okay, yeah, but they have ships hanging in there now.
Yeah, I know that.
Got all the chlorides out, same process of putting it through a rinse and so these ones are all the way done. You just have to finish up the papers, and then they will go into the exhibits. I hope you folks can come and check them out in person.
Welcome to St. Augustine, to the lighthouse, and under the umbrella of the lighthouse there's several different areas that do kind of different things, and you've probably climbed the tower already, right? You're leaving that for last, and this big guy is going to climb the tower too? You're going to do it? Yeah, yeah. I think you're going to do it because you look like a strong boy. I think you can handle it.
My legs.
Yeah, you got the right shoes. Yeah, yeah, very good. So we have that. We have, of course, that was built in 1871, finished in 1874. So it's 150 years old last year. Yeah, yeah. But the Spanish have been here since 1565. They started coming. They came. The first Spanish person who came here was Pedro Menendez with his crew and his ships, and he came from Spain, from Avila, Spain, and he landed in St. Augustine on the feast day of St. Augustine, September 8th, 1565. And on that day, because it was the feast of the, and they were all Catholic, and they were all, they knew, they carried religious people, they carried priests and religious people on the ships with them on these long exploration voyages. And they carried sailors, of course, and they carried a lot of settlers that were going to be settling here, and some soldiers, and of course the crew of the galleons. He started out with 6 galleons, and it took takes between 3 and 4 months to get to the New World from Spain, and of course they encounter all kinds of bad weather and everything like that. So out of the 6 galleons, only 4 made it. But when they got here, they found that the Timucuan Indians were already living here, the Native Americans that were here for God knows how long. And the Timucuans, when they found out that the Spanish were here, one of the reasons why Pedro Menendez came here was because in the northern part of Florida, around Jacksonville, the French had already come in and settled. And the French had established Fort Caroline there. And the French were not very nice to the Timucuan Indians. So, and the Spanish came here with Pedro Menendez. They were going to push the French out of there because they wanted to control this. They already had Cuba and a lot of islands in Puerto Rico and a lot of islands in the Caribbean there, and Florida. And they wanted to have control of the peninsula, so Pedro Menendez was going to push the French out, and the French were Huguenots, which is not Catholic. That's another thing. In those days, that was very, very important, the religion. So anyway, the Timucuan Indians were friendly to the Spanish, and when they found out that the Spanish were going to push the French out, which they eventually did. But anyway, so they got here and made the settlement, and the settlement continued. We are the oldest continuously inhabited city in the United States. There is nobody older than us. So anyway, so and what we do here is we continue the tradition of what they did in the old days. So when you get to the boat building area, if you haven't seen that yet, they're building boats, wooden boats, like they did in the old days. So that's still continuing. And because, and here what they do at LAMP is they look for wrecks. And because Florida is sand and shells, we have beautiful beaches, but the moving sand is terrible for navigation. And they didn't have electronic navigation in those days. So they'd be coming into St. Augustine Harbor, and they remembered how they were, you know, a boat would have been coming in 1 month and had remembered the channel from that trip. They came in the next month, but in the meanwhile there had been a storm, and all of a sudden they're grounded on a sandbar, and there's no way to get off, and or they hit it really hard, and the boat wrecks, and everything spills out, and it's all on the bottom. And that's what LAMP does, is go look for those wrecks. We have over 500 wrecks up and down the coast over here. And these 500 wrecks, we could be pulling them up every week, but we look for sort of boats, ships that are historically significant. And we did find one in 2009, and that's the one I'm going to tell you about. And that's the one that when we brought it up, we have parts of it on display in the keeper's house. Have you been in the keeper's house yet? Did you go down into the basement?
Yes.
So you probably saw some of the things. Come join us. I'm telling the story of how we find the wrecks and clean them up and put them on display. So how do they find the wrecks? Well, we have a boat that goes out in the summertime usually. Come join us. We have plenty of room. And this boat is about 35 feet long, and it carries a crew of archaeologists and also sometimes students who are enrolled in a university program of maritime archaeology. And these students go out and have a hands-on experience and get college credit for being on the boat, which is a very cool thing. Yeah, yeah. And how do they find the wrecks? Well, they pull behind the boat side scan sonar and a magnetometer. Now the side scan sonar is just shows you contours like this. This really doesn't mean much. It's a lump over here and another jagged thing over here. That doesn't really mean much. And the longer the ship has been down, on the bottom of the sea, the more it gets covered up with sand, and the sea creatures start forming. The sea is a living environment, after all, and the sea creatures will start attaching themselves to everything, and they form reefs. And if there's a wreck down there, the creatures don't know it's a wreck. They don't care if it's gold bullion down there or an old pot. They'll just attach themselves, and they'll form reefs. And pretty soon, the fish will arrive, and they'll spawn over there, and they'll lay their eggs, and the little fish will hatch in the shelter of the reef. So anyway, these things, the longer they're under there, the more stuff will be on them. We call that concretions. But in the beginning, if you find, have you ever seen this toy? Has your young man ever seen this toy? Yeah, isn't this a fun toy? Yeah, I'll let you use it in a second, but I just want to show them something.
What is that?
This is, well, okay, I'm telling you what the side scan sonar sees. And the side scan sonar took a picture of this. Now, if this ship went down last week, and they came across a picture like this, can you tell it's a ship? Yeah, at this point it looks lopsided, but it certainly looks like something that doesn't belong there, not naturally occurring on the bottom of the sea. So, you know, oh, that could be a part of a ship. And if it crashed on its side, you know, maybe this is all that would be showing. But the longer it's down there, the more the sand will cover it, and the sea creatures will start building on it, and this shape will start changing. And this shape becomes less and less looking like a part of the ship. And then another storm comes along, and it throws sand on this side, and pretty soon it just looks like this. And what the heck is that? It's nothing. So that's why they need the magnetometer. Okay, so, but if they see the magnetometer there, along with the suspicious side scan sonar picture, and they see, I don't know if you can see from where you're sitting. If you can't, just come up closer. You can see the red zigzag because the magnetometer picked up metal. Now, we have no naturally occurring iron deposits in Florida. We don't have any granite. We don't have any kind of mineral, any mining. We have sand and shells. And so if there's metal down there, you know it's from a source. If they see something that they want to look at in that boat, they'll stop the boat, anchor it, and they'll send the scuba divers down. Now the scuba divers go down, and when they excavate a site, they do it systematically. So how they do it is they lay a grid of squares on the bottom. And here's a map. This is that excavation that we did to get the artifacts from and put them in the keeper's house from this wreck that we found in 2009. Anyway, each square that they lay down is 1 meter by 1 meter. And of course it's been down there, God knows how long, they don't know how long it's been, but there's 2 questions when you find a wreck, there's 2 questions you want to find out. Primary questions. Who were these people? And when did they go down? Those are the 2 primary questions. There's a million other questions, of course. Where were they going? What were they doing? Why were they there? And, you know, whatever. But who was it and when did they go down? So they're going to start excavating and bringing things up from the bottom to help them determine the time period and who the people were who owned this. But before they can do that, remember it's been underwater, they're underwater, and the sand is always moving, So what they have to do is they have to remove the sand off each of those squares. How do they do that? Well, they vacuum it up. Here's a vacuum cleaner. You see the hose down here? And when they start vacuuming the sand, they bring it up to the boat, which has a big bin in the back of the boat, and that bin is covered with a wire mesh. And that wire mesh will, and then, you know, they'll be dumping it into the bin, and that wire mesh will catch any other small objects that the vacuum cleaner catches, like coins, or nails, or broken pottery, or buttons, or anything like that. And it'll end up in the top on the grid. Well, when they first started vacuuming up for this wreck, they found a couple of buttons. And buttons are a wonderful treasure because there's lots of records over time of what kind of button each period used. And these buttons were not only the kind of buttons they were, but they had letters on them. And those letters were RP. And so right away, our archaeologists who have all kinds of records and all kinds of pictures going back centuries started searching. And they found RP stands for Royal Provincials. It looked like a military uniform from these military people, royal, working for a king or a queen. Provincials, provinces, colonies. You know, it's a good clue. So they found these buttons. So they think, well, it's a king and a lot of royalty in Europe. So they don't know whether they were English or French or Dutch or Spanish, you know. But anyway, RP was there, right? Okay. So they had that was their first clue. So some of the other things that they found when they were pumping it could have been like nails. And in the old days, nails were made by blacksmiths, and some of these nails were not round in the old days. And how they did that, the nails were made by blacksmiths. So, and again, we're trying to establish when this wreck went down. So if you find any old nails that are four-sided, because that's how the blacksmiths would make them. They weren't round. They were four-sided. They would have a red hot piece of iron, and they would put it on the anvil, and he'd have his hammer, and he'd give it a tap. Then he'd turn it 90 degrees, give it another tap, turn it another 90 degrees, one more tap, and then the final 90 degrees, the fourth tap. So they would be an elongated, four-sided thing with a sharp tip. The old nails looked like that. So if they found anything like that, that was good too. So anyway, so then they'll start bringing things up from the bottom, that other things they haven't found any nails, but they did find those buttons. So now they're going to be starting to bring up things from the bottom. And these things will also help them decide who these people were, or find out who these people were and when this wreck happened. But there's going to be so much stuff that they have to be selective in what they bring up. All right, open it up. Open it up. And there it is. It's pottery. Old pottery. And in the old days, they would carry their liquids in pots or in bottles or in kegs. But this looks like the top of a pottery jar. Pottery.
Could be.
But why I said this is the most important piece for you to feel, because these are concretions. This is what the sea creatures do. And sometimes they're covered, the whole thing. The longer it's underwater, the more it'll be covered with these concretion. Try to break it off. Try to break off the concretions.
Wow.
Yeah. Not going anywhere.
But that helps you to date it, huh? Like
yes,
how long it takes to do that.
Yes, it takes a long time. And this is some of the other things that we found.
Oh,
look,
wow.
they're all
Look at
covered
that.
with concrete. You can come up and see it closer if you'd like.
There you go, man.
But these, obviously, this is not going to come off just by you breaking it off.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a tool that we use. The archaeologists use this special tool, and here it is. This is the tool they use. This is called an air scribe. And how this works, when you plug it, this is just the hose and the business end of it. But when this is attached to the machine, it acts like a dentist drill. Have you ever been to the dentist? No, not yet, not yet. Good. I don't like it. I know, nobody likes to go to the dentist, but
I'll be like, peace.
But it's kind of like, or a miniature jackhammer. This end right here, when you plug it in, this end has a sharp tip. It's you know, you can rub your finger against it and not get hurt, but it's sharp when it bangs away, and it goes do 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 do, and it pecks away at the concretions, because those concretions, as you felt, are so hard that you would not be able to remove them without something forceful. But if you're going to be removing those concretions, and with this powerful tool, you need to know what's under the concretions, because if you've got something valuable,
You'll probably break it, yeah.
you might damage it or break it. Yes, exactly, because this has a lot of force. No matter how careful you are, you have to be meticulously careful. And if you know what you're working with, so how would you know what you're working with?
It's hard.
In some of these concretions, how would you know what these things are? X-ray, exactly right.
Yeah,
You take X-rays. Now, of these three things, and if you folks would like to come closer so you can see, feel free. Of
Didn't
these
want to crowd
three,
you guys out. No.
of these three things that are here, some of the concretions that we found, we're talking about the wreck that's on display in the keeper's house. We found it in 2009 and brought up these things. And I have to tell you, these are castings of the originals, because the originals have been cleaned up and put on display. But these are castings, and this is what they looked like when they came up. So you take the X-rays, and of these three things, remember I told you the sea creatures will attach to anything. They have no regard for whatever it is. They don't know what they're attaching themselves to. They just see something and they attach. So sometimes you get a lot of things blended together in one concretion, like this one. This has lots of different items in it. This one is only one. I call this one the teddy bear. You think this looks like a teddy bear? No, not very much. Doesn't look cuddly, but it's got the face and there's the stomach. Yeah, this is one item also, but it has so much concretion on it that is totally distorted the shape. But this thing is one item.
That's actually one
Can
piece.
anybody actually guess what this thing is? This middle thing.
Is that a tie-down cleat?
Tie-down cleat. That's a good guess, but that's not what it is. It's actually it's a tool.
Oh.
Anybody want to venture a
Pistol?
pistol?
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, I get that all the time too.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say a
not a
pistol.
pistol. Okay. Well, we have the X-rays, and the X-rays are right down here. And you might want to come up a little closer to see it.
Oh,
What is
I
that?
know
Oh,
it
it's
is,
an
yeah.
axe.
From,
It's an axe.
It's
And
an axe.
It's the top
all
of an
these-
axe.
Yes, it's the blade and the fuzz. If you come closer, you can see the definite outline of the metal, and the fuzzy part are the concretions. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, what about this guy? I told you this is one item. This item, if you were a sailor in the old days, you would probably be able to figure what that out is.
Cannonball, right?
That's a cannonball.
To me, it looks like, what are those things called? Like that with
A pulley. A pulley.
a pulley.
Yeah,
A pulley.
You're much closer. Exactly.
Head
It's type of a pulley. It's called a dead eye.
Oh, that
And
eye.
here it is. And
Oh.
here's the eyes and the nose of the teddy bear. And all this fuzz down here collected is his belly. And how they
His
used to
food.
use that on the old sailing ships. What moved those sailing ships?
Oh,
Wind.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wind and
pushing against
water.
the sails.
The sails.
How do you control the sails?
Winches.
Winches and what else?
Air.
Winches are connected to something. Ropes, lines, yes, yes. And you have to control those ropes, especially out in the middle of the ocean. The winds can be fierce, and there have been instances if you lose control of the ropes on a sailing ship, you can be pushed toward did you hear about that ship, the Mexican ship that crashed against the Brooklyn Bridge? Yeah, because they had wind, current, and mechanical problems against them, and the currents in New York Harbor are very fierce. We used to have a boat, and we actually sailed through New York Harbor, and you have to be very careful. But anyway, if you don't control the ropes on the sails, those ropes will be flailing around, and there have been many instances of a rope wrapping itself around one of the sailors and actually throwing him overboard. And you're out in the middle of the ocean. What do? You lose the crewman. You can't help it.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Yeah. So anyway, these things are the dead eyes are very important, and you were right in saying that we can pass this around so everybody can see. Here's one of the pulleys, and you want to hold it and pass it along to the next person. Yeah, and you put the lines through there, and you can wrap them around that pulley. Yeah. So, anyway, so we've covered these two. We're still looking for who these people were and when did they go down. This piece gave us another good clue. Remember, we already found the buttons with RP on it. Thank you. And on this one, we have an item that gave us a very, very strong clue as to who these people were and the time period that they went down. And it's this part of it right here. This one is the multi stuck together object. But this piece right down here, just try to visualize what this little piece down here would be.
It looks like a cattail.
It does. But it cattail, yes.
Find something. And back in that era, guns.
And you are absolutely right.
It's a gun?
It is a gun. It's a pistol. I'm gonna ask you, what's your name?
Jack.
Jack, would you please open the door under there so they can see the X-ray picture?
Back in the days, this was concreted everything.
Yeah, it's just put it down gently. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Here is the gun, and it's actually a pistol. And there was a couple of things about this pistol that was a very valuable find. First of all, it's a Queen Anne pistol. Who had a Queen Anne?
English.
British.
The
Yes.
British,
Yes. So they knew, okay, these were English people on board this ship. And the other thing they knew about that pistol is that it was expensive. The average Joe, the average sailor, or the average laborer in England would not have it. And they also knew when it was made. This pistol was made around 1760 to 1780, in that time period, the last part of the 18th century. So that's when this ship went. So they've got two clues. They've got the buttons, the RP button. So those were British, probably British soldiers. Somebody on board this ship had some money and was able to, bless you, was able to buy a Queen Anne pistol. And so then they found that information, and then they brought up a few more things. And one of the other things that I'm not going to show you over here, it's in the keeper's house, was a couple of cannon. They brought up some cannon from this wreck, or in the vicinity of this wreck. And they brought up, there were several cannon. They can't possibly bring up everything. In fact, they've brought up so many things that they're still cleaning them up. And as they clean them up, they put them on display. But anyway, they brought up those two cannon. And the cannon were, one was it's like this axe head. It was only the cannon. Nothing else was stuck there. One was like a regular 18th century cannon, so they're zoning in on that time period, late 18th century. And the other one was called a carronade, slightly a cannon, but a slightly different design. And why it was called a carronade was because it was made in the Carron Ironworks in Falkirk, Scotland. Scotland, the British Empire, right?
Yeah.
Carron Ironworks in Falkirk, Scotland. And when they cleaned up the cannon of all its concretions, they found the definitive answer of the time period. That cannon had the date it was cast at the foundry imprinted in the cannon, and the year was 1780. So everything fits with the buttons, with the soldiers. Why were there soldiers there? Remember the event that happened just before just around the late 1700s? Well, yeah, the Spanish were fighting with the French, but this was a ship. They checked to see, where is this ship coming from? How did they know where the ship is coming from? Well, because in those days they had newspapers. They had people writing letters to each other. They had journals, and our archaeologists went researching through all this, and they found an account of 16 ships coming from South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, into Spanish St. Augustine, which, by the way, had been Spanish all its life except for that period right there, 1763 to 1785. It was under British control. So this British ship was coming out of South Carolina because something happened in those colonies that the British were no longer welcome, and they were seeking refuge in British St. Augustine, because St. Augustine was no longer called St. Augustine for this brief period of time. It was known as British East Florida. So this ship is coming into British territory. because, well, okay, so then I'll make this a little shorter. The reason that ship was coming from Charleston, South Carolina, in finding refuge in British East Florida, was because the British lost the Revolutionary War. And the Declaration of Independence started in 1776, and the war was over. The war went on for 5 years, till 1781, when the British lost the war, and General Cornwallis surrendered in Virginia, and all these soldiers had come to the colonies to fight the war, but the American rebels won. So the British couldn't put them on a jet plane, fly them back to England. So they got on ships. And also the wealthier people, it was just like today. We've got the country divided into this and that. And in those days, some of the people did not want to have an independent United States of America. They liked being under the British, and they were the landowners, the wealthy people, the ones who could afford the Queen Anne pistol. Yeah, so that's where that came from. So it turned out to be a ship coming, an English ship coming into the harbor for safe refuge. Till they could get a ship to take the soldiers back to England or wherever they were going, and those colonists. Okay.
Audrey,
for those of you, you guys, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Were you a teacher before?
I was.
I could tell. You did a great job.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you so much.
And Jack, thank you for helping me with the sign.
Take care.
Okay, take care.
Sounds good. That's coming next April 1st.
Go ahead.